What's up, guys? It's Magny. Welcome to the Savage Gentleman Show.
Sick.
Awesome. Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation. Thank you so much for coming on the Savage Gentleman Show.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
My first question. I was trying desperately to see if I could introduce you with your proper full name. Thank you. So I knew I was going to butcher it. Would you mind saying it for me?
Yeah, so my full name will be Magny. So it's one of those things. It's like throughout high school, college, everything else, it's like so hard to get people to pronounce it. And I remember like my first actual job outside of high school, I went and like I told my employer my name was, and she like looked at me like, "Your name is what?" And she just could not get it. She's like, "I'm just gonna call you Neil." And like literally, it took me 18 years to realize like, oh, I just go by Neil. Like seriously, like that's all it took. It's kind of never went back ever since.
That's amazing. And so you're nicknamed the Haitian sensation. You're obviously originally from Haiti.
No, I was actually born in Brooklyn, New York. My parents are from Haiti.
Okay.
And this is one of those names, like I more so recently adopted the Haitian sensation nickname about 3-4 years or so ago or so. And more so the reason I wanted to do that is just kind of like let it be known as far as like some of the things I have to do with as far as like culturally and that kind of thing, and it's kind of inspired that group of people. So I remember going to Haiti for mission trips and that kind of thing.
That was going to be my next question, if you've ever actually been there.
Oh yes. I've been to Haiti a few times on mission trips, and one of the things that always stuck out to me on a mission trip in Haiti was just how intrigued some of the kids there were to find out that like someone who came to visit them and help them had also come from Haitian descent as well. And for me, I more so wanted to like have some things for them to like draw on and see, or whatever else may be in the future. I kind of like if they're watching UFC fight randomly at a bar walking by or on the TV at a neighbor's house, wherever it may be, and they see like the name Haitian Station come on, like hoping it inspires them in themselves. So like kind of like, oh, you know what? If this guy can do it and he's from the same place we are, why can't I pursue my dreams? Whether this be an engineer, a doctor, whatever else you want to be, I'm going to pursue that dream as well. So it was really important to me to really like touch my Haitian roots, but with having that nickname, just kind of inspired a nice group of people to kind of go after their dreams and like pursue it with their full heart.
And that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing. And so then going back to what you said, what was life like growing up in Brooklyn, New York? What are some of your earliest memories of your childhood?
Difficult to say the least. So my mom was a single mother raising 6 kids in Brooklyn, New York, and
6 children.
Yeah,
How
on her
many
own.
boys? How many girls?
5 boys, 1 girl. Like you guys from a large family as well, so you can imagine if it was one person having to carry that load on her own, how difficult that can be. So just it was always very difficult. Like there's certain things that we just didn't have access to, just because of the things that my mom like had to take care of, that kind of thing. But one of the best things that growing up taught me was just how to be compassionate and show up for others, and that's something that I held with me from childhood up until adulthood. And though my childhood wasn't the easiest at times, the lesson it taught me is something I'm truly grateful for at the end of the day.
What inspired you to want to go the military route?
So for me, it was just kind of looking at my options. So in high school, when it came time for me to go to college, it was like one of those things. It's like, all right, cool. I can either take a chance and take this wrestling scholarship to go wrestle at some small D3 school in Iowa somewhere, and then like, God forbid, an injury happens, something happens, and it's kind of like, oh, well, what do I do now with life? But I was fortunate enough to have a recruiter come to my high school and kind of explain to me how I can make a career out of military and still pursue college and other ventures as well. So when that got explained to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, oh yeah, go to the military route. I can get life experience. I can get all this like quote-unquote discipline, that kind of thing, and have an opportunity to actually pay for my college, get an education as well. So not having many other options on how I would actually make it through college, the military and getting an opportunity to serve was actually one of the things that stood forefront on my mind to do for college and that kind of thing.
And you did 7 years.
Yeah, it is 7 years at the Army.
What exactly is a light wheel mechanic?
So anything under a tank. So a tank would be something considered like a track wheeled vehicle or whatever. So anything smaller than a tank would pretty much be some of the things that I was fortunate to work on. When I first got to the military, I was going through a communications route, and then I got deployed with the medical unit, and they needed more personnel to fulfill that role. So I kind of just switched over to doing that MOS.
And so what was the experience like in Kuwait and Afghanistan?
So for me, it was it was a cool experience to show up for others. I mean, that whole experience of my deployment just kind of taught me how to embrace the moment and be present with it. So like there were times in deployment where a lot of my comrades, a lot of my battle boys were kind of like, man, this deployment is the worst ever. It sucks. I hate it. I can't wait to get home. And it was just, for them, it was the most miserable time ever. And I was like, man, if I go 12 months like that, I'm not going to make it through. It's going to be miserable. So for me, I kind of like embraced the suck, so to speak. I was like, well, I'm here. I'm in the middle of the sandpit. I might as well make the best of it. So I really just kind of like had to hone in on how to like show and be present, not just for myself, but people around me as well. So after duty, after missions, after whatever was going on, I found a way to like kind of like take the pressure off the day's work and really get back to like something that's coming. For me, it was doing martial arts. Like we literally would have a group of guys meet up in the sandpit and would wrestle, grapple, do kickboxing, whatever else to meet in the middle of the desert. And that just kind of served as the distraction to what we have to do with on a day-to-day life being overseas. In addition to that, it just kind of allowed me to be present for others, though it wasn't an ideal situation for me. Whether it was like helping the nationals there or helping my battle buddies, I was able to show up for other people and take the pressure off myself during that time.
That was kind of leading me to my next question. So I was wondering if it was in high school or was it in the military where you first got exposed to MMA? And in which area did you start to notice you were just a little bit better than everyone else?
So I was fortunate enough to get exposed to MMA my junior year of high school, going to my senior year of high school. During that time, I was doing football, wrestling, and track. And one summer, my football coach got us a membership at a local World's Gym. And at the time, Miguel Torres happened to be running his martial arts program out of there. So at first, I would kind of go in and see these guys grappling in the karate suits and that kind of thing. I was like, that looks interesting, but whatever. Like it's not my thing. I'll just continue lifting weights, playing football, doing wrestling, that kind of thing. I'd go back and I'd see him doing kickboxing. Like, all right, that looks a little more interesting than what I seen the days prior. And it kind of like piqued my interest at first. And then I'd go in there another time. It would just be this skinny dude in the gym, like literally just has like Muay Thai shorts or MMA shorts on and a pair of 4-ounce boxing gloves. And he's in there just sparring with whomever was there. Like I seen Miguel Torres compete at 135 pounds, sparring with guys who can be legitimate heavyweights in today's MMA scene. So seeing a guy that small take it to heavyweights back in the day, just kind of like, man, I don't know what this guy has in him, but I want to give it a shot. So I went up, introduced myself to him, asked him what it is that he was doing, what he had available as far as like opportunities to train and that kind of stuff. And kind of explained to me like what jiu-jitsu was, what kickboxing was, and how he put it together with MMA. And I was kind of hooked ever since. He invited me to my first training session, was happened to be a sparring session with Miguel Torres. So here I am, this 18-year-old kid, this freshly in high school, just kind of like, all right, cool, we go see what this whole MMA, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing scene is about. And my first day is like getting to spar with Miguel Torres. He threw one jab that cracked my front tooth, and I was just like, this doesn't feel the best, but it doesn't suck. But I think I'm gonna keep going with it, and haven't turned my back on the sports ever since.
I mean, shout out to Miguel Torres. I feel like he's one of those guys that doesn't get enough shine these days. But didn't he go like 37-1 or something at one point?
Yeah, I mean the guy.
To get some training with.
Yeah, if I had to mimic a career or mimic my mindset when it came to fighting, would have be Miguel Torres. I mean, the guy would fight sometimes two, three times in a single night. Like he just loved to compete and embrace it wholeheartedly. And like when I look at myself and what I've been able to do over the last 12 years in the UFC alone, it's just been kind of that same mindset. Like I really enjoy the aspect of fighting, I enjoy the aspects of training, and getting the opportunity to go out there and compete time and time again is something I truly cherish and I'm appreciative for. And I'm grateful to have done it for as long as I have, and still have so much more life ahead of me in the sport and other things. So it definitely stemmed from my first experience with Miguel Torres.
You're how old right now?
37 years old.
So you're 37. You're 29-12. You have one of the longest winning streak in welterweight history. What's next for you? How much longer do you want to do this for, and what are your future goals?
As long as I'm competitive for it. I mean, like the end goal always remains to get a world title, the UFC world title. That's definitely is the biggest goal possible. That's what I'm aiming for time and time again, over and over and over. I mean, at times that goal just does seem like it gets harder to obtain and further from being obtainable. Just based on some of the setbacks that I experienced throughout life and throughout my fights and that kind of thing. But ultimately, it still remains a goal, and it still remains something I feel I can actually accomplish. I mean, I'll look at guys that have gotten the UFC titles late in their careers. Guys like DC,
Absolutely.
guys like Glover Teixeira, guys like Bisping, who at one point you probably could have counted these guys out. Like, oh, 42 years old, that guy won't fight for a title, nonetheless win it. Glover Teixeira went out there and did it. One-eyed Bisping, like, oh, that dude would never fight for a title. Not only
Pillow
would he,
hands.
yeah. Not only would he fight for a title, he'd go out there and win it as well and do it in impressive fashion. So seeing those guys do it, there's definitely there's a little bit of hope that goes in there. So during those moments where I do get discouraged, or I do get like, man, is this ever going to happen to me? Knowing that it's someone before me has actually done it, lets you know it's actually obtainable and I can do it myself as well.
Listen, I believe in you 100%. And I also kind of want you to know that world title or not, there's a bigger picture here with the amount of people that you inspire and encourage. I want to tell you just a personal story. We were watching your fight against Mike Malott. Now, arguably, probably down 2 rounds on the judges' scorecard. You're going into the third. You notice this guy starts to gas. You crank up the heat like your life depends on it. My brother Ryan is jumping up and down in the living room, literally yelling on the top of his lungs, push this shit in. It's not gonna fuck out. And there's something about your cardio, which is another question of mine, but I just want to let you know that no matter what happens in the future, the way you're inspiring other young people, the way you're giving other people courage, the way you never count yourself out, you've never had more than 2 losses back to back in your entire career. You've ranked 15 in the world for 10 years now. Like, Neil, give yourself some credit no matter what happens in your future. The way you've inspired and infected others, even myself, is something that's a real testament to you as a person. And whatever sacrifices you've made have been well worth it for us watching.
Oh, for sure. You guys give me teary out here. I didn't think this is the route this interview was going to take, but here we are. But yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate over the last couple of years to be able to fight. I mean, I feel like one thing I used to say about fighting in particular is that like my life made me better at fighting, whereas fighting made me better at life. And it's something that I actually get to live over and over and over again. I mean, like the hardships that you face throughout life forces you to actually be like, all right, you can either give up and keep going. Like, those are your 2 choices. And over and over again, I've been forced to make that decision where it's like, cool, do you stop here to keep going? And I've always chose to keep going, and great things always has come from that. And then the other side, when it comes to like how fighting helps me deal with my actual life, is I have to be one, the accountability piece on there. Like after you win a fight, lose a fight, you still have to sit there with yourself at the end of the day and address like, all right, cool, what happened in that fight? Like what happened, what went well, what went wrong, what could be done better, and all these other things, and really be not like point the finger at everybody else, be accountable for yourself and your own action that led to the outcome of that fight, whether it be a success, whether it be a win or a loss kind of thing. You really have to sit there and be okay with the outcome of that fight and actually address the outcome and see like, all right, what could you have done to have changed it? And I get to take that approach in my life over and over and over again. I mean, over these last couple of years, my life had been a literal roller coaster ride. I mean, there was a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and everything in between there. But at the end of the day, whatever obstacle I was facing in life, I was literally forced to sit down and face it with accountability. Like, all right, what part did I play in this situation, and what can I have done better to change the outcome of it, and what can I do better in the future to prevent the same thing from happening or react better in a similar situation. And I'm just fortunate to be able to live the life that I've had over the last 12 years, be with the UFC and what it's done for me outside the UFC and the people I've been able to help along the way as well.
I mean, it's awesomely said, man. It really is. So what do you attribute your cardio to?
This is, for me, cardio is the one thing that like you can control as an individual, because there's some people that can argue up and down and say like, I can never be strong because of this or because of that. Like there's all types of there's all types of physical things that may or may not hinder someone's ability to get stronger. For to give an example, I had a pretty severe injury back in 2018 that almost paralyzed my left arm, where I could not even lift the 20-pound dumbbell on my left arm. So through extensive rehab and physical therapy, I got to the point that I was able to get strong on that left side and like get symmetrical and strength and that kind of thing. But because of that injury, I'm still hindered in how much more I can push when it comes to the physical side of my body and that kind of thing. But when it comes to cardio, when it comes to being able to push yourself to your limits, that's something you get to choose day in and day out. And the only option not to have better cardio is because you chose not to. You chose to quit at that point. You can see marathon runners go out there and run a race, and the only thing they have to do is not stop running and make it across the finish line. You see marathon runners literally crawl across the finish line. You see some of them get held up by their family members, their friends, other racers. You see some of them cross the finish line and collapse because they gave it everything that they had. So for me, when it comes to cardio, it's one of those things that I can only hold myself accountable for it, and you only get it by what you put into it. We can all start tomorrow and go run a mile. You can measure how long it took you to run that mile. And let's say your first time out, it took you 8 minutes to run a mile. The next time going out there, you can actually push yourself to run that mile in 7 minutes and 59 seconds. The next time you go out there, you can get done in 7 minutes and 58 seconds. As long as you stay consistent, keep pushing yourself, you can slowly start to chip away at that number and get a better result time and time again. And I feel like when it comes to cardio, it's more that mental consistency that you pour into it that gets the outcome that you want. And my fights have been a testament to that. Like, it's less about like what I've done, but what I'm willing to do and how far I'm willing to go to get what I want.
With all the fights that you've been in, can you remember each one specifically? Or did you start, like, even ask me? With all the breakdowns, all the interviews you do, sometimes it's hard for me. Specific times, dates, names, some of them tend to blur into each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not fighting, I'm just talking. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But how is your memory, especially when it comes to these specific fights?
Oh, man, you guys are really putting out the teardrops today. There are definitely some fights that are more memorable than others. Because of, like, at times it's like the circumstances around it and what it brings out of you. I mean, some of the fights that I have vivid memories of aren't the fights that I've won, unfortunately. There are some of the fights that I've lost, and it's not just what happened in the fight in that moment, but what was taking place around the fight, going into the fight, and still making that choice like, hey, you know what, I can quit. I can say I don't feel well. I can say that I had 1,000 reasons why I couldn't fight tonight, but that's something that I've never had the luxury of doing. Like, I mean, go back to my military days. I never had the opportunity of calling in sick because other people depended on me. If I called in sick on a duty station, someone else had to take my spot and make up for where I fell short. So I never was able to rely on being able to have a replacement pick up where I left off. So as fighting became not just something I loved doing, but became something that allowed me to provide for myself, my family, and several others, I can never just like go out there and say like, you know what? I'm not feeling it today. I got way too much on my plate to worry about. I'll just go worry about that and fight later. For me, it's like find that moment of gratitude and go into the fight, still go out there doing your best regardless of the circumstances. And there's been more times than not that like still making that choice to go out there for your obligation worked out better for me than choosing the opposite. I mean, there's been times that I fought with food poisoning, with broken bones, with all types of crazy injuries. And other times where I went out there and I fought great. Life was going well. Training camp went well, had no injuries. And if you were to break down which of those fights I've won, which ones that I've lost, the logical side of your brain would say like, oh, you definitely won the fights that you're doing well. Yeah. You had a great training camp, life was settled, everything was going your way. Like, those are the fights that you won. But the reality was, like, the fights that I went into where life and was just like getting the best of me and kicking my butt over and over and over again, those are the fights that I really grew from it and brought something out of me, not just in the cage, but in life in general. I mean, one of the most memorable moments for me was in the fight against Ponzinibbio. It was a fight that like I had a lot of personal things going on around that fight, literally close up to the fight, and everything in me was like, man, I don't know how I can do this. Like my mind was everywhere else but on fighting. I was just like, I can't stop, I can't quit, I can't just give it up. And I remember in between rounds, I think it was 3 or 4, I remember sitting on a stool and trying to find a way to quit and tell myself that like, I can't do it, coach. I literally cannot see. I don't know where my opponent is. I'm injured, I'm battered, I'm bruised, my mind is elsewhere. I just can't do it. And I whispered to my coach, like, hey, I can't quit. And I was hoping, I whispered to my coach, hey, I can't see. And what I was hoping for is my coach said, oh, you can't see? That's it, I'm calling the fight. And in that moment, my coach was just like, hey, you got this, don't quit on yourself. And I had to like, muster up the courage and the strength to get off that stool and go back up to that fight. And that was a fight that like you would hope there was like be a Rocky story that's like bounced back from adversity, came back, won the fight. But no, it didn't go that way at all. I literally got knocked out and fell on the floor face first. But one of the best things about that fight is like falling to the mat face first and realizing that like what I worked so hard for wasn't in front of me and I've lost it where else may be, was the people around me that came up and literally physically lifted me up and said, hey, we got you, buddy. We're here for you. And it's kind of carried me through life and throughout that fight through life ever since. I mean, like my leg was so battered after that fight that I can barely walk a flight of stairs. But I had guys like Christian Allen who literally was like, hey, I got you. Put your arm on my shoulder. We'll take you up the stairs. I literally was boarding the flight, and a guy like Mick Minner, who's a UFC matchmaker, he had no business to even go back there and try to fight me, but he went to the back of he left the seat in first class, went to the back of the plane and found me. He's like, hey, Neil, that was a rough fight. Take my seat in first class. I'll take your seat back here. Let that leg stretch out and relax a bit. And I was just like, man, like, you don't owe me that. Why would you do that for me? Why would you still choose to go to the back of the plane and fight a fighter that just lost and has less value to you as a company man and still say, oh, no, you're worth it. You're still deserving of another chance. Come take my seat, rest the leg, and come back a better day. Come back a better man another day. And like that moment itself is like something I'm more grateful for than the actual fight itself. Like that positive loss, sure, replay over and over and over, see me get knocked out. But the people who showed up for me at my lowest is something I'm truly grateful for, and like something I can never pass up. And in that moment, it sucked, but I'm grateful for what came out of it.
Neil, what is your greatest accomplishment outside of the octagon?
Some people might call this selfish, but like being a father is one of the best things I get to. It's one of my greatest accomplishments, and I know it's weird to say like what being a dad is an accomplishment, but it's like no. I mean, I get a responsibility to pour into two individuals who, regardless of how much I pour into them, they can still wake up tomorrow and say like, hey, Dad. Thanks for the last 18 years. I want nothing to do with you. And if that day comes, they choose to do that, I have to be okay. They're like, all right, cool. I did my best and poured into these two individuals as best as I could. Excuse me. And poured into these individuals as best as I could. Hopefully they're able to go out there and be better men than I ever were and be able to lead their mark in the world better than I ever did with whatever they choose to do, whether it's through sports, whether it's through business, or through whatever else it may be, or it's be through just regular people showing love for their fellow neighbor, whatever else it is. If those values live on far after I'm gone or else maybe, I can still live a great life.
Yeah. What are your kids' names?
Dominic and Liam. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
What is your favorite thing about Dominic?
For me, it's just cool to see him come into his own person, have his own personality. Because like, that dude is probably one of the most stubborn people I've ever met. When he has his mindset on something, there's no changing it. And like the unfortunate side, he probably gets that from me as well. Like, I remember telling my parents like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a professional cage fighter." It was like, "You're what? No, you're not." Like, "Yeah, I'm going to do it. Watch me get it done." And like just me having that stubborn attitude, like, "Yeah, I'm not." I hear what you're saying. I hear what the risks are. I hear what the likelihood of this being an actual career is highly unlikely of doing whatever. I hear all those things, but I'm still going to do it. Because to do that, I see so much of myself in him and seeing it in his own way, where it's like he'll ask me for a cup of milk, for example, like, "Hey, Dad, let me have a cup of milk." Like, "All right, cool, here you go." "I don't want that cup." Like, "But it's a cup of milk that you asked for. Here you go." Like, "No, I don't want that cup. I want this one instead." Like, "Son, that cup is dirty. Take this one instead." "No, I want that cup." And at that time, as a parent, you want to say like, "Hey, take the cup I'm going to give you." But at the same time, it's like, all right, how do I not take that experience from him and allow him to be who he's going to be? Like, if he has his mind set on something, who am I to tell him that like, "Hey, you can have this, settle for that instead"? Like, even though like the parenting thing should be like, "Oh yeah, give him the one that you want to give him," it's still giving an opportunity to be his own individual at a young age. Like right now, all he knows is a blue cup and red cup. He wants the red cup today. I don't know what his reasoning is. I can just only encourage him to pursue whatever it is he wants. As much as I want to give him that blue cup, if he chooses the red cup, I just have to be okay with it and do what I can to give him that red cup.
No matter who you might be to the rest of the world, you're just a parent handing the wrong colored cup to your kid. And your second kid's name?
Liam, the older one,
and
Liam.
What is your favorite thing about Liam? Because, speaking of fairness, if they watch this, they're going to ask why the other one didn't get asked. Make sure I cover both bases.
Yeah, for me, it's cool to see him finally turn the corner and like have compassion now. And that's something that like at times I feel like I lack being able to like not only have compassion but like vocalize my compassion for others. So like he'll randomly just reach over and like he'll sit on the couch with me, but sit on the couch not enough. He has to have his arm around me or tell me like, "Hey Dad, put your arm around me," or like you put him in the bed. He's just like, "Hey Dad, can you lay me for a second?" And like as much as at times I want to say like, "Yeah, cool, I can lay there for 10, 15 minutes, you fall asleep, whatever it may be." As a parent, you're like, well, if I lay for 15 minutes, I still have to get the dishes done, I still have to get the laundry done, I still have to do my stretching, I still have to do all these other things outside of putting you to bed. But it's like, all right, you know what? I'll take that moment, I'll lay with you, and help students to go to bed. But he's just like, no, I don't want you to just lay here. I want to lay in your arms. I want to make it an actual experience that you and I get to have, not just like, all right, cool, my dad laid near me, I fell asleep and it was there. Like, no, I want you to have a moment with you, and I want you to tell me, like, hey, I love you, Dad. And it's like, he'll initiate that. And it's like, my 4-year-old is calling me out. Make sure I let him know how I feel about him on a consistent basis. My 4-year-old is calling me out, letting me know, like, hey, make sure you show some, like, actual compassion and love towards me and for me in a physical, affectionate way, rather than just like, hey, love you, son, I'll see you later. And it's just cool to see him bring that out of me and experience that.
I appreciate that. What has your experience been like on the Savage Gentleman Show?
It's been great. I mean, it's super high energy to begin with. Had a couple of tear-jerker moments in the middle that I didn't expect, but overall, it's a cool experience. I mean, I've been very fortunate to know these savage gentlemen since they were just a couple of savage preteens. So to see these gentlemen become what they are now, I'm truly proud and fortunate to be able to share a mic with these guys.
Any shout-outs you'd like to make? Anything you'd like to plug? Anywhere people can follow you or find you? A YouTube channel that you're also wanting to push? Anything that you'd like to shout out?
More importantly to me, I mean, this is some cool organizations that I like to always give an opportunity for people to check out. Nate Marquardt has a pretty good foundation that he's doing work out in Asia. If you guys can go to Nate Marquardt's Instagram page, you can find out more about his foundation, what he's doing in Asia now. In addition to that, there's also mission11.org. So an organization I work with that does mission work in Haiti and the Philippines. They have a website, Instagram page, and Facebook page as well. Just gotta check those guys out, see what the work they're doing out in the world, and see if you guys can plug in and help them in any kind of way.
I'm going to see if you can give me a short answer to this last question. This is a challenge for you. Last random act of kindness that you experienced?
That I've experienced, like doing or receiving?
Receiving.
Like someone did for me? Honestly, this might go against the grain. As some of you guys may or may not know, I'm going through a current divorce right now, and if you guys ever heard about divorces, they can be pretty difficult. The person you married is not the person you divorced, and at some points you really, really, really don't like each other. So random act of kindness I had recently, whereas my ex-wife was able to actually reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? And she actually stepped up and said, well, I'll do this in order to take the pressure off you and allow you to do your thing, whatever. I was like, wait, what? Where's the cash? Like, you're just gonna like help me out of the blue for no reason? I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go ahead and let you do that. Like, that's cool. So it's like being able to see someone finally come around to the point. It's like, all right, you know what? This is bigger than like love or hate for another person, but more so just showing up for someone else. See someone who was probably had every right to be upset with me for many reasons, whatever else may be. Still choose like, oh, you know what? I don't feel like doing it, but I'm just gonna take a moment and be kind today. I definitely appreciate that in the moment.
You know, good things happen to good people. The reason you get lifted up, the reason you get helped up is because you're obviously doing something right. Please keep doing what you're doing. We can't wait to have you back. Give us a shout out on your next fight. Do you happen to have a new opponent?
Oh yes, we do.
Yeah,
November 9th, I'm fighting Carlos Pratt. Carlos Prates, November 9th in Las Vegas, and it's a main event fight. I mean, like I said, it's one of the things I'm truly grateful for. I mean, after my last fight, I was pretty low. I was like, man, I really blew it. I got knocked out first round. Like, what am I going to do? To get an opportunity to go out there and turn around and get a chance to test myself against another tough up-and-comer for main event slot in the UFC, like, that's almost unheard of. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to make the best of it and go out there and get it done in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're awesome, man. We can't wait to see your next fight.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Neil.